Hi everybody, welcome back to Friday Night Sports. If you were tuning in at the beginning of the program, we talked a little about Vanderbilt's situation with the LHSAA, and maybe there was an ineligible player, and there was a ruling that was sent down. I talked to Coach Laurie DuPont a little bit earlier, and listen, they have the right to appeal this. So this is nothing that is set in stone yet. This is something that the staff over at Vanderbilt is going to appeal, and they feel there's a situation where there's some things that need to be clarified. So we certainly want to hear the whole thing before everybody passes judgment and tries to make a decision on it being an 0-4 or whatever. So this is not a done deal yet. They have their day, and they're going to go out and say, and I really don't know all the particulars about it. The funny thing is when I heard it, I didn't even think of saying this out there about it. And then all of a sudden I'm hearing on the airwaves as I'm listening to games around the area and radio, and they're kind of announcing these things. So once again, this is not a done deal yet. On Wednesday, Vanderbilt actually going to appeal this decision. So we don't know exactly what's going to happen yet. Only time will tell with that. And I certainly appreciate Coach DuPont talking to me and letting me know that this is something that is not etched in stone yet. It is something that they're going to try and take care of, and we certainly hope that it all gets resolved. At any rate, there is no doubt about one thing: Vanderbilt's program is definitely on the upswing. They are getting better and better each week. I know it was a tough loss tonight against South Lafourche, but I saw them last week, and there's no doubt that the program is getting better. If we can, Jason, we're going to backtrack and look from the very beginning of all of the scores that we have in our area, and we'll start them off certainly with some of our local scores. There we go, guys. The score that you're happiest about: H.L. Bourgeois 6, Assumption 0. So you are now 1-0 in District 8-5A. Another score you're happy about: Rummel 20, East St. John 14. You're only lost on the year, but also Rummel's undefeated. So that's got to be a pretty good feeling as far as power points and things go. Okay, moving on, Jason. Terrebonne High School 14, Thibodaux High School 38. Good win for Thibodaux High School. That's two teams last year that fought it out the last game of the year for the title. This year they have to play in the first round. How do they decide that, by the way? It's just a luck of the draw?
No, it's not a luck of the draw. Being that we share fields with each other, and Ellen shares, they pull the week you have it, and then they go with the schedule down.
So it just worked out that Thibodaux would hook up with
and you
Terrebonne.
pull a bye week.
Destrehan 35, Errett 6. So teams in this area that take on Destrehan pick up power points. Moving on. Vanderbilt 7, South Lafourche 25. South Lafourche had a big game by Rusty Bourne in that game. East Ascension 49, Ellender 12. Moving on to the next board. Central Lafourche 7, South Terrebonne 10. That's a huge win for South Terrebonne High School with 1:32 left in the game. A big 3-point field goal by Justin Petrie in that game. Lutcher 69, Warren Easton 37. That's a lot of scoring in that game. Lutcher has a fine offensive football team. Moving on, North Vermillion 13, E.D. White 14. Good win for E.D. White. Their next opponent next week will be Bruley. Bruley picks up their first win of the year. They defeat Ascension Catholic 47-7. Moving on, St. James 20, Patterson 22. Patterson moves to 3-1. Berwick 14, Plaquemine 47. So Berwick, unfortunately, hey, they fixed Plaquemine. Plaquemine's good now. All right, here we go. Moving on. Let's see what else we got, Jason. Morgan City 21, Jeanerette 30. So Morgan City, unfortunately, still winless. Central Catholic 15, Catholic of New Iberia 35. That game was played last night in New Iberia. Keeping the board rolling. Donaldsonville 44, West St. John 6. Donaldsonville's turning into the real deal. And speaking of a team that's a real deal, Salmon defeated Belle Chase 34-14. Salmon lost in overtime to John Curtis, but that was their only loss on the year. Moving on. Hornville 39, Old Perry Walker 8. Hornville licking its wounds after last week's loss to Lutcher, but they get it back together this week. Sanamar 53, Bonneville 21, so that doesn't help Central Lafourche with power points, as they were hoping Bonneville would come up and win that game. Riverside 48, Fisher 19. That's not much of a surprise, but the next one's a little bit of a surprise to me. West Jeff in overtime defeats Jesuit 33-30. That's a big win for West Jefferson. Moving on, Grace King 0-zip. Riverdale 20. That doesn't help Central Lafourche out either, as they could have used Grace King to come up with a win. Dutchtown 19, St. John 0. So Dutchtown gives Thibodaux some power points. Any more up there, Jason? one more. We have one more board, he's telling me, as we get it up there now. Holy Cross 26, McMain 12. And the score at the bottom is a little bit of interest to Assumption. They could have got some power points from Live Oak, but Live Oak lost to Walker tonight, 20-0. So that's that's a look at our board in the southeastern part of the state. A few surprises, but anything, you know, surprising or standout score-wise to you in there?
That West Jeff score is kind of surprising. You know, they got athletes, but Wade Kaiser's over at Jesuit now, and guy played with Nichols at his offensive coordinator. And they said they were turning the corner, so you know, must have been a good game, but West Jeff pulled it up.
What we're going to do is take our last commercial break, but when we come back from it, we're going to talk about the schedule of next week and about your Nichols State Colonels. They go into action tomorrow against a favorite son from over here. We'll ask your opinion on that with Ryan Paralou coming back to town. We're going to do that after we take this commercial break.
Okay.